Thank you. So, like she said, my name is Cherise. I'm Sweetshop and Crafts, and I'm excited to be here with you today to teach you how to make some fun and clean toppers for your cupcake cakes. We're going to be working today with some Sweetshop fondant, which is available at Michael's. These are super easy, especially for a beginner. Super easy fondant creations that any can do. You don't have to have any special skills, and we're just going to kind of walk through step by step, and I'll explain them as I go along. If you've never worked with fondant before, a few things to remember. If you are in a more humid climate, your fondant can tend to be a little bit sticky. So in that case, it's always good to have some powdered sugar or cornstarch on hand so that if your fondant starts to be a little bit sticky. Likewise, in drier climate, your fondant is going to tend to dry out and can crack a lot faster. So you want to make sure that you don't leave it sitting out for too long, not using it. Just keep an airtight container. Our fondant with Shop comes in a ton of different colors you can see here. So we're going to be working with several of them today. They're convenient because they're colored, they're ready to go. You just have to purchase them, and then you can make all your fun creations. The first one that we are going to do today, I was inspired by, I don't know if any of you, when you were younger, got lollipops with like a little tissue or piece of fabric over it, tied with a ribbon, and little eyeballs on as a little ghost, or kids have brought them home from Halloween parties, things like that. I was inspired by those to make this first one. So the first thing you're going to want to do is get your fin out, and like you can see here, I'm just kind of molding it and kneading it. You want it nice and pliable.
Hey,
so that's going to be, yes.
I'm not for sure if it's your earphones, but it's something that's causing either an echoing or a distorted type of sound.
Okay, we'll see if we can fix that. I'm just trying to work on that. I'm going to be sprinkling down a little bit of this cornstarch on my work surface here. You also want to remember fondant is really, it will pick up things. So you want to make sure the work surface is clean and smooth. Still having trouble with the sound?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Not sure. They're working on it. Hopefully we can get that figured out. Okay. You can still hear me. I'm just using this fondant rolling pin to roll this fondant out here. Get it nice and smooth.
And while they're working on your sound, there is a question asking, is it better to use cornstarch instead of powdered sugar?
The preference, I actually like the cornstarch, but it's obviously, if you're going to need to use a lot more, I would suggest the powdered sugar, or you can do a mixture of both. I just like finer texture of the cornstarch, but it's obviously to be on your fondants. If you feel like you're going to use a lot of it, then I would probably stick to the powdered sugar, just so you'll have the sweet flavor. Okay, once you get rolled out smooth, we are going to cut a circle. Sweetshop does have these handy circle cutters. And if you don't have a circle cutter, this is where you can get creative. All of these things today from the fondant, use things around us. I've used a cup or a bowl before, just kind of something about the size that you think for how big you want your little ghost to be. And we're going to be using a lollipop, so I kind of just estimated that. This is probably, what is this, like 5 inches approximately. And we're just going to cut a circle. Like I said, this is super easy. This is also a really fun thing to do with kids. My youngest especially loves whenever I have fondant. She thinks it's like playing with Play-Doh. And so she's always, if I have fondant, she's always asking for the leftovers so she can play with it, because it's like Play-Doh you eat. So I'm going to take a lollipop, whatever lollipop or sucker that you want to use. All of them will work. And then we're going to get a cupcake. And this is a perfect activity because even if you're not a baker, you can do this. This is like, you could go with your favorite cupcakes from your store or bakery, even if there are already just a plain frosting, and make these tops yourself and take them up and make them your own. And so that's kind of fun. If you don't have the time or you're just not a piece of baking, you can still do this project. And then I just have some chocolate buttercream. Again, this is totally personal preference. Your flavor of cake, your frosting, you could do colored frosting, whatever you choose.
Hey, Sharice,
I
real
just
quick,
need to have some chocolate.
I
Yeah,
know
did you have a
I'm trying
question?
to, I don't, but I do want to make a note, everyone. We do realize that there is an issue with the sound. They are working on what's going on with that, why it's echoing. So we do apologize for that. I just know that everyone keeps putting that message in the chat, but please know that they are working on the sound, so you don't have to continuing adding that particular message. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so sorry. We're trying to get it figured out here. Okay, so I've got just a frosted. I just did it really simply. You can pipe it on. You could even spread it on with a knife, whatever works for you. There's no rhyme or reason, and it's kind of gonna get covered up anyway, so that part doesn't really matter. You're gonna take your sucker, your lollipop, and you're just gonna drape this over it. It's as simple as that. And then you're just going to kind of play with it until you the way it's laying on there. I'm gonna have a little ghost. So once you get that highlight, just gonna stick that right into our cupcake. And then this part, then you could use the eyes, which we have Sweet Tooth Fairy at Kohl's, has a whole bunch of different sizes of candy eyes. You could use what I have here is edible paint marker or edible marker, or you could use edible paint, any of those things. And just to finish off this little ghost, see if I can do this direction. Just gonna give them a couple little eyeballs. There we go. A pretty simple, easy, just some white fondant and a cupcake, and you have a cute little ghost topper for your cupcake.
Hey, Sharice, there's a question.
Do you have any questions? Yeah.
Yes, they're asking if the are the markers edible?
Yes. This is actually a sweet sugar bell. You can miss it, Michael's. She does a lot of she's royal icing cookies. This is one of her edible markers. But yes, any marker or edible paint you can find Michael's will work. Or like if you don't have that, you could use any little black candy or a black sprinkle, the edible, like little edible eyeballs that you can find, any of those things. You could draw a mouth on there. Like this is where you get to have fun, customize it however you want, and you can do it elaborate as you want or as simple as you want. But it just is a really fun little way to make your cupcake more fun. I know like kids would love this. Who wouldn't love this? And then they also get a lollipop. So that's the ghost. Are there any more questions about that one?
Not at this moment.
Okay. Perfect. We will move on to another one. This time I'm going to be using some gray. And like I said, the fondant comes, I think we have it's in over 20 different colors. So pretty much any color you can think of for anything that you want to do. You can also mess around with mixing colors. That also works. Just like before, I'm just going to knead this a few times to get it pliable. And work with it. A little more here. This time, we're going to be making a little tombstone. This one is really fun. I think this one would be cute also on a cake, like the top of a cake, like a whole bunch of little tombstones lined up. This was my son's favorite one. Okay, once we get this worked with, we're gonna break off. Again, this part is really gonna be up to you big. We want to miss. And the first step I do is roll it into a ball. If this you guys can see. And then you're just gonna start shaping it. So it's like like working with Play-Doh or clay, shape it into the shape that you want. This time we're just doing a really basic, I'm just doing a super simple little rounded tombstone. And you want to keep it kind of fat. I don't know if you can see that, so that it stands up. You get it too thin, it might be too floppy. Another we're working with it is I hurried and did this one right here and stuck right in my cupcake, but you don't have to do that. You can make these ahead of time. And if you've never worked with before, like I mentioned at the beginning, the one it sits out, it tends dry and kind of it's a little bit more firm, which would work for some of these if you wanted to make them beforehand and add later. Because right now it's pretty soft.
Hey, sure. Is it possible they can go to the overhead camera?
Sorry, what was that?
You think they can move to the overhead camera so that they can see?
Yeah. Can move to the overhead so they can do that. Turn up my volume.
There we go.
Please. Thank you. Okay, can we see this now? There we go. So I've just kind of shaped it, keeping a little bit flat bottom here. I'm just kind of shaping that's how I like it. Oh, it's a tombstone, so you don't have to make it perfect. That's the beauty of this. Some of them, especially, they're old and cracked. Okay. Then the fun part, this is where you can use now. Their Sweetshop actually does have a Fondant Tool Kit that you can buy. If you don't have this, that's okay too. A toothpick would work really well, or a just even a sharp knife would work for this. And all we're going to do, let me wipe my hands off here a minute. All we're going to do is kind of, you could put in anything. I just did the RIP, and it's really just kind of carving it out into the fondant. Sorry, I know this will be upside down for you guys. I'll turn it in just a second. I don't think I'm talented enough to do it upside down. Okay. You guys see that? Just the RIP. And then you could write words. I mean, that it's kind of small, so whatever you feel like. And I kind of, to make it look old, I put in a few little lines here and there. I didn't do this, but you could, if you let this sit out a little bit and harden, you could use your edible marker or an edible paint and come back in. I would wait until this got a little bit more firm. You could come back in and highlight this or paint it in black so it would stand out some more if you wanted to do that, just to kind of give it some more dimension. This is really where you just get to have fun and be creative. There's no right or wrong way to this. Does anybody have any questions so far? Here. There's no sound.
I can hear you just fine.
Got it? Okay, perfect. Did we have any questions? Sorry.
Not at this moment. Right now, everybody's just kind of watching.
Just watching me try to fix this upside down.
And
Okay.
actually, because we can see it, if you turn it back around, we can
see it
just like that.
Perfect. Perfect. I'm the one upside down here. Okay. All right. So there we go. Little imperfect tombstone. And then what's fun with this one, because I have brown, oh, I've got powdered sugar all over it. Okay. I'm just going to pipe on here. And again, you don't even have to pipe this on. You could just use a knife or a spatula and put that on. To make this a little more fun, I've got some crushed up cookie here. see if I can get it out. And we're just going to add this on to make it look like some dirt, just to add it a little more fun to it. And we'll take this and just stick him right on in there. And there you go. Cute little tombstone. Super easy. Anyone can do it.
Quick question. I know that it's
Yeah.
everything that you have is edible, but I just want to make sure they were asking that the tombstone, once dried, can be eaten.
Yes, yes. All of this can be eaten. The fondant can be eaten. It will get harder, obviously, the longer that it sits out, but I personally am not a fan of eating the fondant, but you totally can. My kids think it's great. So they just think it tastes like candy. It's sugar. So 100% can be eaten even when it sits out. So no worries there.
And there's another question, just wondering if we can get a close-up of the cupcakes.
Okay. Yes, let's see. Can we, if I do that, can we see it?
We can see it. It'll probably be once you cut. There we go.
You got that. There's the cute little tombstone. And then here's the ghost on the lollipop. There we go. Okay. Another one that's fun. Got white here. Gonna take some white again. Just let me wipe my counter here. I've got cookie crumbs. Okay. This is another one that we're going to use the circle cutter for. This time you'll want one that is smaller, approximately like the size of the top of a cupcake. We're going to make a little mummy. This one's not as three-dimensional as these. So this one's, even if you don't want to have these big over the top ones, this one's a really simple way. This would also work the same kind of idea with like a pumpkin, doing the same concept here, do some orange. And we're going to cut this, but instead of cutting it out, you could just make the whole top of your cupcake a pumpkin or a jack-o'-lantern. So you could do that as well this way. So just roll out your fondant, get it nice and smooth, and then we're going to take a circle cutter again, cut this out. And what we're going to do is cut this into strips. And this, again, doesn't have to be perfect. No need to like worry about measuring or anything, because it's just for a mummy. And you can use a pizza cutter, works really, really well. You could use a knife. There's some fondant tools that have kind of like a little razor blade on one end. You can cut it. We're just going to cut strips like this. Okay, then we have our cupcake. We're going to frost again. This one we want to kind of keep flat. I'm actually going to smooth this just a little bit. So just keep in mind, like I said, you could do the same kind of thing here and do a pumpkin. I would have just cut a circle, and then that's where you would add it on right there and just make the whole top of it a pumpkin. For this one, we're going to use some cute little candy eyes. Again, keeping everything 100% edible. This would be a fun one to do maybe for, because I think this one's pretty easy. This would be a really fun one to do for kids or a class party if you're in charge of those at school, or have friends over. My kids, like I said, love to play with fondant. So then all we're going to do, start laying these on. And again, no rhyme or reason, overlap. I'm just going to make a cute little mummy. Does anybody have any questions? Anything they want to know?
Linda's asking, how far in advance of Halloween can you make these?
The fondant does get hard, so I wouldn't make them. I mean, you would be fine a couple of days, but I wouldn't probably make them more than that, just because the fondant would get pretty hard and your cupcake would get stale. So a few days you would be fine before you need them. And you could keep them in the fridge, that helps. Okay, I'm going to use here, we have, this is just piping gel, which you can get anywhere. I prefer it when I'm working with fondant because you can use, let me just back up here. You can use a couple of things. You can use water to stick fondant to fondant. That works really well on a flat, smooth surface, like on the side of a cake or something. You can also use buttercream, or you can use this piping gel, which I like the piping gel just because it's clear. So then you're not gonna see anything, but you totally could just use your frosting or whatever's easiest or what you have on hand. And you could use water too. So I just have a little paintbrush here and I'm just gonna dip this on and you're just gonna use it like glue. And then we're just gonna add the eyeballs onto here. They're so tiny. Just put your eyeballs on. And there we go. Super easy. See if we can focus on that. There we go. Cute little mummy. Super easy to make.
Trish, there's another quick question. I think I
Yeah.
know the answer, but I'm going to let you answer it.
Okay.
So they were also asking if you put it in the refrigerator, should it be covered?
Yes. If you can, I would cover it just to keep it from getting stale. And then if you do that, your fondant is obviously going to be a lot harder. So I would pull it out of the fridge a few hours before you're going to eat it, because otherwise you're going to have really rock hard fondant. Just kind of let it come to room temperature and it will soften up a bit. But yes, if you can cover them, then that's a great idea, just to keep, especially your cupcake and your frosting, just to keep all of that from going stale.
We have such a great audience. They're answering each other's questions, but I also want to put it out there. There's a question asked if fondant could be colored. And of course, someone let them know that it can be, but it's best to buy it already colored. But if you could kind of address if about coloring fondant.
Yes, absolutely. You can color fondant. If you only have access to white fondant, you totally can color it. So what you would need to do though is use a gel-based food coloring. You want to stay away from the water-based ones. That's going to affect the texture. But you would just add a few drops. I would start with a few drops depending on the shade and darkness. And then at the beginning, like you're going to add it to your white fondant and then you're just going to knead it in. So you can totally color your fondant to whatever color you want. Just use a gel-based food coloring, and it's a lot of work. You get some good arm workouts, but just need to knead it into the fondant until it saturates it and colors it. But yes, absolutely, you can color the fondant. Let's move on to another fun one. This time we're going to use purple. We're going to make a cute little witch hat. Get some fondant off here. Now, I'm showing these on cupcakes today, but obviously you could do this on any treats. They'd be cute on a cake. They would be cute on cookies, brownies, any of your fun treats. This one's a little sticky, so let's get this kneaded. And this is just a super easy way to, make your treats pop, make them a little more fun, personalize them. It's really fun to do with kids, with other people, just kind of get to be creative and come up with some fun things. Same thing, we're going to roll this out. It's sticky. Get it nice and smooth. And then this one, we're going to use the same circle cutter that I used before. It's approximately the size of the top of your cupcake. Now you could do these on, there are those mini cupcakes or the jumbo cupcakes. Obviously, you just have to adjust your size. This one was extra sticky. There we go. Okay. So what we're going to do now is add this to the top of our cupcake. Let's get some frosting on here. I don't want to do too much because I don't want to push this out. And then we're going to put this down on the top. And this is going to be the base of our little witch hat. Okay, so we'll just set that aside for a minute. You're going to take some more of the purple. And this is where you get to play with it again. I usually always start with a ball, but I'm going to roll it up and then you're going to kind of start forming it into a cone. We're going to make the top of the witch hat. So as I'm shaping this, does anybody have any questions?
I don't see any at this moment.
Okay. Now this is where you can be creative again. You can make it super pointy. You can kind of tip it to the side, however you like.
You know, I did come across one question.
Okay.
Nikki likes to keep her room at 68 degrees, and she's wanting to know if it can stay out. I guess
Oh, just
compared to
sitting
being
out?
refrigerated. Yes.
Yeah, you could totally leave it sitting out. The fondant, the issue you would have is if it was really warm, your fondant just gets really soft. But yeah, you could leave it out for sure. All right, when you get that kind of shaped how you want, then like before, I'm just going to get a little bit of this piping gel, but use whatever you have. Frosting, royal icing would work also. I forgot to mention that one. And then there we go. Can you see that? We're just going to stick that on. Okay, now we're going to add some fun things to this. You obviously could leave it like that if you wanted. I'm going to use some green. You could use any color you want.
And while you're doing that, there's a question asked, could you use wax paper between layers in order to keep it from sticking?
To each other? Yes. Parchment or wax paper? Yes, you could.
And also they're just making sure you're using fondant and not buttercream.
Yes, this is all fondant. Everything
Okay.
here is fondant. The only buttercream I'm using is the brown, the chocolate that I put on the cupcake first. But then everything on top of it is fondant. Okay. This time I'm just going to kind of roll this out into a long, oops, skinny. We're going to make a little belt kind of around the hat. So I'm going to cut this again. Hands are sticky. All right, then I'm just going to put some of this on to stick this to it. You see that? This one would probably work really well just with some water to just make it a little bit sticky. Just be careful to not use too much if you do that way. And we're just going to stick this around. Oh, that's right on. I didn't even measure that. If you need to, if it's too long, just trim it off a little bit. And then to add one more little detail, we have these fun little pop out cutters. And there's one in here. Let's see if I can fit it out. See if you guys can see this. It's a little square, just a little cutter. So what we're gonna do, I still have some of this fondant here, flat. It's like a cookie cutter. Just do that, and then there's a little button, you push, pops it right out. And I did this little square just to add a, oh, if I don't lose it, add a fun little detail, kind of make like the little buckle in the front. Just like that. There you have a little buckle on there. And another thing that we can do, which you could do with any of these, another fun detail. This is just going to depend on how detailed you want to be, how much time you want to take. But this is another fun little detail. I'm just going to add some more piping gel here on the edge. And we're going to take these cute little sprinkles. These are some Sweet Tooth Fairy sprinkles that they have at Michael's that happen to be the same color. So that's fun as this green. And I'm just going to, whoops, if I can do it without getting my fingers sticky, add these right around the edge. Just to add a fun little detail. Make it a little more fun. Everybody loves sprinkles, so. Any questions? Let's see. Hopefully you guys can still hear me good.
Everybody is enjoying. And I was wondering,
I'm
is there
glad.
a recipe? Is there a recipe? I'm going to assume for the cupcake.
For the cupcake? No, this is just a plain vanilla cupcake that I made, but this is, you could use any cupcake. Chocolate cupcakes. You can buy the cupcakes. Like I said, if you're not a baker, you want to still make these with your kids or to give away for, I buy some cupcakes, even if they're just, you know, basic frosted cupcakes from your grocery store would work. Any cupcakes would work. Okay, I won't go all the way around, but you get the idea. Oh, we do have one done here. I can show this one. That's got it all the way around there. So just a cute little fun detail to add to your cupcakes. All right, let's see, we have time for some more. Another one that's fun is the pumpkin. And like I mentioned, so this one could be done in multiple ways. You could do it similar to the mummy, very basic. Want to keep it really simple, cut out a circle, cover the top of your cupcake, and you could cut out little pieces and make like a jack-o'-lantern, or leave it plain, add a little leaf, whatever you like. That's the fun part about this, is that this is something anyone can do, any age. You get to just, it's like grown-up Play-Doh. So it's fun to work with. Okay, let's move this. For this one, I'm going to do a little 3D. So let me pull this one down. So we're going to do it like this. Oh, there we go. This is what I'm going to do. So very basic. Just going to take off section. And this part, you could do it as little or as big as you want. And you're just going to form a little pumpkin. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Pumpkins come in all shapes and sizes. So there's a smaller one. I can do a bigger one.
While you're doing that, there's a question asked, when the fondant starts getting hard, is there a way to soften it again?
Yes, if you're working with it and it's feeling a little bit stiff, you can warm it. Sometimes just holding it in your hand, the heat from your hands will warm it up. But if not, you can pop it in the microwave for a few seconds and it'll heat up the sugars in it, and it will soften it. You want it to be, when you're working with it, see how it's like this. It's stretchy. It doesn't break easily. Nice and pliable. It really does. If you've never used fondant before, it really does have a Play-Doh like texture to it. So, but yes, if it's starting, you forget and you left some sitting out, just pop it in the microwave for a few seconds and warm it up, and you should be able to work with it again. So we could do a tall one like this. You could leave them like this and just put them on. But if you want to be a little bit extra, add a little bit more detail,
We're going to use this tool again, but again, you could use a knife or a toothpick, anything that's kind of got a skinny, sharp kind of edge. I'm not even going to use the point at this time. I'm just going to hold it, so you guys can see that, and just kind of make the little indentations of the pumpkin as we go around. You guys can see that. I don't know. See if we can zoom into that. Oh, maybe a little bit. There we go. So you can just kind of see I'm making just like little indentations on it just to add a little bit more detail. You could also cut out some black fondant and turn these into jack-o'-lanterns and put little faces on them, or even just use your edible marker or paint. I would wait until these sat. I would leave them sitting out and let them get a little bit hard before you try to write on them if you wanted to do that. But if you want to just leave them like this, then to add some more detail, we'll go back to our green. Like this one, you can just make a little stem. Nothing too crazy. Just get a little bit of our piping gel. It's warm here, so this is sticking to me, but there we go. You can add stems, you can make little leaves. I've got one here that's got the little vine coming off of it. Again, however you want to do this, how much detail you want to put in. I feel that like the more that you do this, you have fun and you want to just keep doing more. So kind of addicting. Does anybody have any questions or
I was
comments?
just about to say that. There's a question that just came in asking, how do you make fondant taste good?
That I don't know. I know I've never personally done it, but I think you can add flavoring to it, like an extract. I'm not entirely sure how that affects the texture of it. I know some people do it. But I'm not 100% sure on that.
And then
I wish it tasted better too. It's too sweet for me, but
there's another question asking, what's the best or how long should you wait to do the marker to the fondant?
oh, to write on it.
Mhm.
It just depends. That's going to depend on your room. It's pretty warm here right now, so these are pretty sticky. So I'd have to leave these sitting for a while, but I would say maybe 10 minutes and you'll start to, like, you can tell when it starts getting a little bit firm to the touch, it won't have that sticky feel anymore. And that's just basically because if you try to take your marker now on this, because it's so soft, like when I'm holding it, I can feel it still kind of molding in my hands, then it's just going to stick into that and it's not going to work. So I would say give it 5 to 10 minutes and just kind of see, but it's really going to be like to the touch. If you feel it and it's not as pliable anymore, then you should be good to add those things on. If you're adding on cutting out like a little face or something, then you can do that at any time because you'll just be hooking it on just like these. This one, I didn't even need to use the piping gel because it's so warm right now. These are pretty sticky. So just like that. And same thing with this. If you want to add it to your cupcake, you can, however you want to do this. You can add 1, you could add 2. Let's see if I can get 2 to stay on here. Make it fun like that. This one would also be really cute on the top of a cake or around the bottom of the cake. And I'm just going to, I have some sanding sugar here just to add a little bit more. Just fun little extra detail. Add that to the top. And there we go. We have the pumpkin. Let's see if we can get that up close for you guys. Cute little pumpkins. There we go. There we go. Super simple, fun little detail. That could easily, like I said, be turned into jack-o'-lanterns Okay.
There was a great suggestion out there on the Tombstone cupcake you did earlier about putting like spider web. I think she was wondering maybe
Yes.
using marshmallow, or I would say maybe even sugar. Once the sugar kind of melts and kind of put that
When
over
it's
it to make
stringy.
it. Yes.
Yes, that's a great idea. That's totally a great idea. I had another thought. Oh yeah, that any of these you could add. You could mix and match too. Like you could add the pumpkin next to the tombstone, those kinds of things. Add one with the ghost. Yeah, spiderwebs is a really good idea. And marshmallow is really good for that. I've done that before. Melt down some marshmallow so you get it nice and stringy. You could add that over any of these. That would be a really cute touch. It's a great idea. Okay, let me wipe some of this. I wanted to show you guys, while I'm thinking of it, another idea, if you don't have candy eyes, with these fun pop outs, they make using fondant so easy, and we have them in a ton of shapes, different sizes. These ones are round, and I'm just going to show you really quick how you could make your own eyeballs. Just get a little bit of white fondant here. Because you could just do eyeballs are fun and spooky for Halloween if you wanted to just add eyeballs to a cake or cupcakes. Let's see, do we have black? There we go. There we go. So I just used the bigger, I have two sizes of pop outs of these round ones. So I used the bigger one. So tiny right here, hard to see, but cut out the bigger one. And then I'm going to do the same with the black to make the middle. And you could do these in a bigger size for sure too. You could make, that would be another cute idea, is a big eyeball on the top of the cupcake. That would be really cute too. Oops, these are so tiny. Okay, I'll add that right on. Let's see if we can get a close-up of that because it's so little, but we made a little eyeball that is very similar to the candy eyeballs right here. You can make those yourself out of fondant. So this could be added all over a cupcake. You could use this on the mummy instead. You could even use these if you wanted some fun big ones on your ghost. So that's just another little tip right there, how to make a cute little eyeball using these pop outs. I don't know if we'll have time to finish it, but we'll try. There was one other idea to make a spider. This one is going to be using black. This one's a little bit trickier because I found when I made this, I needed it to sit longer before I attached the legs. So I will walk you through these steps of the pieces that you'll need, but I can't guarantee it's going to stick right now because it's so sticky, because it's pretty warm here. So all I'm doing is I have two sizes. This might be a little too big. I'm just making two different size balls out of black fondant. We're going to have the body and then the head of the spider. And to make this fun, do we have a little bowl? Another little bowl? Can we, let's dump those and use that. That'll make it easier so I don't make a big mess. I'm going to use, this is just some black sanding sugar. You could use any other kind of black sprinkles. I just want to add, just to take this up a notch, make it a little more fun, we're going to add some texture to these balls, kind of to give it like a furry feel. Thank you. So I'm just going to pour some of this black sanding sugar in here. And if these are warm enough, like they are right now, because they've been in my hands, they're pretty, they have enough stickiness to them. I don't need to put anything else on it. And I'm just going to roll these in the sanding sugar. This just adds, let's see if you guys can see this. Okay. Let me see. It just adds a little bit of texture to that. So I'll just do both of these first. Does anybody have any questions or have anybody inspired by any other things you could do on your cupcakes?
There's a lot of comments just having fun with this and being able to impress their families with these. There's a question asked, how long does the fondant last before it dries out?
If it's in an airtight container, it can last for a while. It does tend to get a little bit harder, but like I said, you can just pop it in a microwave and warm it up, and then you can use it for quite a while. It has a pretty good shelf life. Sitting on your cupcake, you probably don't want to eat it if it's been sitting out on your cupcake a long time. Okay, so for the spider now, I'm going to take some of this black, and I'm just going to section this. And these are really just, we're just going to roll out spider legs. And this is the part where I said, this is the part you might want to, because these are really soft right now. If you can see, like, it's not going to hold the shape very well because it's so soft. So this is where I did them just kind of in this little V, because we're going to have them stick out the side and into the cupcake. This is where you'd want to make these, and then we're going to let them sit and harden up a little bit before we put them on.
And just to remind everyone, you rolled to get the hair or making it more, you rolled it in the black sugar, correct?
Sorry, what was that?
You rolled it into the black sugar in order for it to kind of look like it has hair on it?
Yes, just to give it some texture. This is just sanding sugar. You could also use any other black sprinkles, I think. Those, the jimmies, kind of the long skinny ones would be fun. That would even add more texture and dimension. The little nonpareils that are kind of like little balls, little black, I mean, anything. You could add it even in a different color. Not all spiders are black, so have fun with that. But yes, you can leave it plain, but I just think this adds just another level to impress your friends and family with. Just gives it a little bit more detail. I'm not going to do it on the legs, but you definitely could do that as well.
And while you're doing that, there's a question asking, can you use raw icing on fondant?
Yes, you can. And you could use that because royal icing is really, it's a good glue too. That would work also for, instead of the piping gel or buttercream, you could use royal icing to attach things together. But you can pipe onto it. So you definitely could pipe details onto these with royal icing as well.
And then there's another question asking, it says, for basic colors, black, brown, and white, do you prefer fondant or modeling chocolate?
They both have their pros and cons, but I tend to like fondant better, but that's because I can work with it better. So that's my preference, but I know they do have some similar qualities. So for sure, you could probably use that for this as well. So you guys get the idea here, and you can obviously make different size legs, however you want. And then what you're going to do, we probably won't be able to attach all of it now, but I'm just going to frost another cupcake quickly. And then you're going to, let's see, you guys can see that. Stick these on the body and the head. And then as these sit, let's see if I can show one. They're just so soft right now. You're going to do the same kind of thing that we've done. Use your piping gel and attach it here and add your legs. This one isn't going to stay, but you'll get the idea, and add your legs to each side. And then you also can add fun little eyeballs. These are just little red sprinkles. Maybe, there we go. It's soft right now, so I can push these in. And add that on, just like that. So, anybody have questions about that? You kind of get the idea. The legs will go on here. These are just so soft right now, they're not gonna work. So, do we have any questions?
There's something that just came in, so I was trying to read it and understand what was being asked. But while I'm trying to understand the question, there's a lot of people enjoying the class saying thank you, and look forward to if you can do Christmas type of cupcakes and things like that.
Perfect. I think we have some plans for that.
So that is what I'm saying. You're getting a lot of applause
Well,
that they're
thank
giving.
you.
So there are just thank you for
all.
all the ideas that you're giving.
Yeah, I think we're almost out of time, but I hope that you guys learned something and realized that anybody can do this. Fondant is really fun. You just kind of mess around, trial and error, have fun coming up with designs, and see that it's really, really easy to, you know, buy a couple things of fondant and make your treats extra special and impress all your family and friends. So thanks for being here with me today.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank
See
you
ya.
all. Bye-bye.
Bye.